Head coach Tim McCormick and student athlete Regan O'Brien. Coach, if you want to just open with a statement, and if anyone's got questions for Regan, then we can.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not the result that we wanted here, but certainly went down swinging there at the end. Proud of this team, very proud of this team. I just told the group that not one game will define, all the effort and all the energy that we put into this whole thing. So reminded them to keep the heads up. Certainly things that we think could have went differently, but that was a great group too. They jumped on us and they, in the third quarter specifically, and kind of just, continued to put one foot in front of the other and make great plays. And there was a moment that it was tough to stop the bleeding. We eventually did and broke that up a little bit, but it was a little bit too late at that point. But again, I can't say how proud I am of this group and on the whole, just everything that we put into this year.
Any questions for Regan?
Regan, with the way the season unfolded and, the cardiac Jays for a little bit, overtime games, winning all these close games, showing so much fight in all these games, obviously not the result to finish that you wanted, but how do you look back and define just the way that this team played?
Yeah, I can reiterate what Tim said. One game doesn't define us as a whole. I think obviously today didn't turn out how we wanted it to, and there were several games that we could have had a final push besides the overtime wins that I believe that we could have won had we figured something else out and put our whole efforts into the full 60 plus. I think that these games, the wins, the losses, really at the end of the day don't take that much of a toll on me because it's about the effort we put in, and if I'm satisfied or if we're satisfied with the effort we put in the game, I consider that a great opportunity. And some of those games were not reflected about the effort we put in, so that's just upsetting. But I think that overall we had a great season. We put a lot of effort in, and I cannot thank my seniors and fifth years enough for that.
Regan, Coach talked about kind of how you guys were able to eventually kind of stop the bleeding and go on that run lane. What do you think contributed to being able to do that? What changed?
Yeah, I think that we realized that a little too late that we wanted to win. I think that we wanted to show how hard we've been working all season. I think that at the end of the day, we realized that this is our last game, that not every single day is guaranteed, but these minutes are guaranteed. So one game we needed to just put our heads down and work, and I think that was a good mentality, and realize that we can do this and that we should do this and that we deserve to be here. And I think that was the mindset we had, but it was a little too late, like Tim said.
Just one last, Regan. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but you finished the season with 103 calls turnovers. You broke the NCAA single season record by 21. Just maybe kind of reflecting back, I know the season just ended, but just kind of the season and kind of the progression and the impact playing on the U20 team this summer, what that may have done for you this season.
I think that it did a lot for my confidence playing this summer. I think I cannot give enough respect and thank you to Tim himself and my coaching staff. I think that they've constantly supported me. I've worked hand in hand with Dorian Van Dyke. Just the countless film sessions and things like that, I think really spurred me to be the best. And I think working with my teammates every single day, I've said it in past interview sessions, they just are the reason why I do it. And it's just a very fun season, and I can't thank the seniors enough.
Thanks, Regan.
Good.
Any questions for Tim?
You mentioned, I guess the middle of the game would be when that run really kept on going.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about the Princeton offense that is so dynamic and difficult to even just slow down a little bit?
They're good. I mean, they're very well-rounded. Very, very well-rounded group. I mean, they primarily play off that lefty side, but it's like 3 or 4 individuals that can beat you at any given time. Obviously, we let one do it the majority of the work, which you never want. But but then you put in more attention there, or you try to tweak something to kind of limit that, and then another kid runs past you, you know, so, just, you know, I think very well-rounded group, disciplined group, patient, very patient. It's tough to play like a zone defense like ours when you're playing against a patient group who's kind of feels like they're in control. You know, so they did a great job, and they capitalized on their opportunities too. They shot pretty well. The chances they got inside, Morgan made some excellent saves too. But the chances they got inside when they were in there, they took advantage of most of those.
Kind of picking up on that, you know, the player who did most of the work, Mackenzie Blake, you know, you guys kept her quiet until the very end of that first quarter there, and then she kind of got going. What is particularly challenging about game planning for her, or just dealing with her specifically?
She's very smart. You know, she's, again, back to like the patience. It's kind of like, it seems as if the principles of play for that offense, she's almost kind of the catalyst of it, right? She embodies what they're trying to do very, very well. Timely cuts, you know, and they got players that can feed two or three or four even that can like throw that ball in there. So when you got someone that's really, really smart, patient, and timely, and can handle and finish everything, you're going to be pretty good, you know, especially if that's the principles that you guys are playing with. So I think, you know, that's certainly a lot of what I think makes her great, and she showed a lot of that today.
And for you guys offensively, you know, it seemed like you were in control of the draw a lot of the game. You forced Princeton into more turnovers than they're used to. What do you think contributed to the success there, and what was kind of the next step for you guys, you know, making that pay off a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, we did. I think, you know, really, I think when we were having that, it was right there, right? I think it was, what was it, like at 1.44, right, early on, and kind of like back and forth. They went on like a 3-goal spurt to make it 7-4. That kind of separated it, and then we scored maybe one to get it back, and then they went on like a tear. So I think when it was at the end of the game too, right, very reminiscent of the same, right? When it was that we were kind of controlling the draw area, you know, we were staying clean and not fouling, and we were clearing the ball successfully. When those things were happening, it was right there, outside of this massive, you know, gap in that, where it was a bit of like a make it take it, maybe with 1 or 2 turnovers in the mix there offensively, you know, but I don't remember a ton of possessions in that window, you know, that we actually had. So that's tough, you know, and then you find yourself in that kind of hole. And I think when you saw in the fourth quarter, it was just a sense of urgency, right? I mean, we started taking some chances, pushing the ball up a little bit, you know. So yeah, it's interesting that I do believe that when we were kind of controlling that area of the field and causing those turnovers, it was back and forth. That middle section just kind of got away from us, and it was just scrapping to try to get back to level on that.
Regan mentioned that, you know, obviously celebrating all the close wins and things like that, but mentioned sometimes a full 60-minute effort was not always the case. I'm just curious how that becomes the next step. How can you preach that type of effort, or how does that kind of come into play?
Yeah, I mean, that was preached pretty much daily. It takes a lot, you know, to get to that. I think this group did a good job of making strides. I mean, our senior class and 50 years that will be leaving here left an incredible legacy. You know, they strived for 60, truly, you know, strived for 60, and that's on the practice days too. You can't take those ones off and expect to do it. You can't take the fall off and expect to do it out here. You know, so just trying to be consistent in that. Those guys left an amazing legacy of you know, striving to get to that 60. I think it's very hard to do it. If I was going to be honest, I think there might have been 1 or 2 games we were able to actually hit that 60 in, and that's not, I'm not saying that anything against our team. I mean, you could probably say that if you're critical of every team out there, right? I mean, there's going to be a minute here or there that you slipped, and there's your 60 gone. But you're always striving for it. continuing to develop leaders, you know, and hopefully they saw, you know, Ashley Mackin and, you know, with the Campbell Case and Megan Kilbasa and what they did and the legacy that those guys left, and can continue to pick up from there. Hannah Johnson developed as a leader big time this year as a captain for us, so she'll be leading the charge there. Regan, who you know, has played as close to 60 and especially at the back end of this year, will be someone that people can look at and emulate too down the line. And that's what it is. You know, you just gotta kind of showcase, you know, preach it, show it, and then, you know, allow it to unfold.
I'll just say, touch on Regan a little bit. You know, she finished the season with over 100 calls turnovers. Gonna just talk about Regan's season a little bit and kind of the progression from the beginning of this year to kind of where she finished with, excuse me, I think it was 33 calls turnovers in her last 4 games, something insane like that.
Yeah, very special. That's a very special player and person. She's amazing. You know, I really got to know her. I mean, obviously, when you share a building, you share a locker room, you know her. But when you get a different role, and now I'm assistant coach, you know, with the USA team, you really get a different kind of relationship. And just watching her interact with her teammates, and then watching her come here and have that confidence right off the bat, and play with that every single day. She's talked about her teammates challenging her to be her best, but she does the same right back constantly. You know, I feel like she matured a ton. You know, and when you have all those things kind of happening, and then you show up and you bring your best effort and energy each and every day, and you compete at a high level, and as she did, you know, good things are going to happen, you know, in your favor. And when you're as aggressive as she is, and we've seen that since she was a freshman. You know, I can remember some early games her freshman year that she was doing some of that stuff. You know, maybe a little bit less disciplined at that point, and less, you know, the maturity is probably one of the biggest things, but just such a steady progression of confidence, of ability, you know, and self-awareness, all the things. So obviously unbelievably proud of her, and excited that she's got, you know, fortunate for her too, that she's got another chance to do it, you know, so I know that she'll be ready to do it again.
Just one more. You mentioned the seniors, and just talk about Ashley Mackin. She missed, you know, she was having an incredible season, got hurt, missed a month, and then came back and had 11 goals and assists in these 2 games. So you just talk a little about, I mean, seniors in general you touched on, you know, but Mackin was having such a great year and then got hurt, and then to come back the way she did this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, another unbelievably special player. You know, she was able to do things that I really haven't seen, as far as her ability to handle the ball, scan, feel and sense pressure, exploit space, you know, roll back when she needed to roll back, or kind of rock her and get through when she needed to do so, and finish at just an unbelievably high rate. Got up, generated a ton of shots. You know, the quality of Ashley Mackin's shots on the whole, you know, from the beginning of the season all the way through these last 2, although missed a bunch, was unreal. It was unbelievable. She just got to the right spots frequently, and handled it, you know, and beyond the field and what everyone sees and the statistics and how good she was. I mean, just an incredible person and leader. She is somebody that was just always inquisitive about how can I be a better leader. I mean, the first year I got here, she called me. She's a young kid at this point, you know, and she's saying, you know, I just met with my strength coach and he shared this and that, and I got some ideas that I think can help us. I mean, that stuff doesn't happen all the time, you know, so she was always attuned to being a great leader and always attuned to what can make Blue Jay Lacrosse better. So she will certainly be missed, but her legacy has been left, and that I can assure you.